Yes, we are back again, and I'm joined here by Sam for episode 4 of our NRL 2026 club season previews. Today, as you can see on the template to our right, we are doing the Dolphins. How the bloody hell are we, Sam?
I'm good, man. Thank you again for having me. Hello to everybody out there that's given us a crack over the past week or so. We really appreciate the support. Can you get into the Redcliffe Dolphins?
Yes, the good old Redcliffe Dolphins. Let's look at their 2025 campaign, Sam, when I get the right page up. There we go. So as you can see there, they ended up finishing in 9th position, just missing the top 8. And look, I have to say they were absolutely crippled, the Dolphins, with injuries throughout their 2025 campaign. We saw Tom Gilbert go down there with injury. Daniel Saifiti. These are just some of the names that are just coming to my head. Jack Bostock. We saw, or Flegler didn't even play at all. There was a long list of players there for the Dolphins that went through, and I'm probably missing a few as well. But yeah, a fair few players went through injuries for them in the 2025 campaign, and look, to end up finishing 9th, I think is pretty, like, a pretty fair, not fair. I think it's they did well to get 9th position, I think, with all the injuries, and they, I think, played better than most expected with the amount of players that they ended up having out. If you look at their season, it didn't get off to a really good start at all. I remember there was actually a few murmurings around about, oh, geez, like this is not the greatest start to Christian Wolf's coaching campaign, 0-4. A lot of pressure was on him there, but then look, they turned it around with a couple of real great performances, 36-10 against the Titans in round 5, and then 2 probably huge upsets in the grand scheme of things, Sam, after going 0-4. The Dolphins 30-12 against the Panthers and 42-22 against the Storm. I think that was a real turning point there after that Titans game. You can see that they started to score some points and they started to believe in what Christian Wolf was saying. Look, yes, they went down in back-to-back weeks after, but they were close affairs, high-scoring ones at that as well. They were able to beat the Eels there. Warriors in round 11 lost a close one. Absolutely walloped the Dogs in round 12. They were a quality side in season 2025. And if you think of it, Sam, they've knocked off 3 very good sides there. The Dolphins, in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the season, throughout the year, they absolutely smashed the Dragons there round 14. Unfortunately, Sam walloped your Cowboys in round 15. Went down to Newcastle in a close one over in Perth. I remember, I think Kalen Ponga had probably one of his best games of the season. Then we've got the Dolphins. They took down the Rabbitohs. Look, I think a great theme that we're seeing here as I continue to go through the year is the amount of points that the Dolphins were scoring. I think they were 3rd for the season for tries. Yeah, third best for tries for the 2025 campaign, high on the goal kicking. So they really scored a lot of points, had to buy in round 18. 24-12 went down against the Sharks, who are a strong side. Unfortunately for you again, Sam, were too strong for the Cowboys in round 20. Then they had another bye, and then they had a good win against the Warriors, but then got absolutely handed to by the Sydney Roosters there,
Dor,
64-12. Yes.
Dor, mate. I think that 2-week period there, the Warriors and Roosters games, is what had them miss out on the top 8 overall. In that game against the Warriors, Herbie Farnworth went down, and inside that first 10, 15 minutes, he looked like he was untouchable. He was amassing run meters for fun, and then he got shot by the sniper, got his hamstring done up. Then the week after, because they had been holding on for so long, as you alluded to before, they were decimated throughout injury even before the season began. And they kept fighting and they kept impressing. They got those upset wins. And then they finally took on the Roosters in what was billed as the game of the round, as pretty much an early top 8 eliminator sort of a game. And then the Roosters, they showed their class, and I think the Dolphins were just they were buggered. They were absolutely gassed, and you can see that despite still scoring points, they were still potent in attack defensively. This is where they cracked. You can see the score lines there. They leaked 38 to your Broncos, despite it was still a good fight by them in that game. Leaking damn near 60 to Manly, leaking 30 to the Gold Coast, and then they absolutely obliterated a C to B string Canberra Raiders there in the final round of the season. But I do think when I think about the 2025 Dolphins, I think about that 2-week period there where the Dolphins, yes, they got the win against the Warriors in New Zealand, but that is where their season turned for me, man. And in that game against the Warriors, and then the one the week after against the Roosters in a very, very spiteful affair.
I think it just shows the quality of player of Herbie Farnworth's is Sam. Like, he was absolutely outstanding, and like you said, he was on track for an absolutely huge game in that game against the Warriors. Like you said, he was making Warriors players miss tackles for fun, was gaining a heap of meters, and it just all went wrong there, unfortunately. But yes, like you said, they were able to hold on and get the win. But yeah, the Farnworth loss, and just Max Plath was another one that went down with injury as well and missed a lot of time in 2025. And it was just, it obviously got to that game against the Raiders. I was there for that one out at KO Stadium, and they put on an absolute clinic against, a weak Raiders team. But unfortunately, due to those results against, Manly, Broncos, and the Roosters there, they just unfortunately just slipped out of the 8. And even though they got that Raiders win, I think they needed the Rabbitohs to beat the Roosters in the Roosters' final home game, and that didn't happen. The Roosters were too strong for the Rabbitohs, and that meant that the Dolphins could not make the finals. And look, Herbie was probably going to play that game in round 27, but they didn't end up playing because obviously their season was over and they could only get 9th spot. But considering it all, Sam, yes, at the back end there, it was a bit disappointing or a bit upsetting, I'd say. I wouldn't say disappointing considering, the players that were out. And we saw some players really grasp their opportunity in season 2025 that we'll definitely discuss in our 26 preview of players that really did perform and came to the limelight in a lot of players' absences for the Dolphins. But yeah, I think a really good season, crippled by injuries, but I think they should be proud of where they finished overall, just due to the amount of setbacks that they suffered.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%.
All right. I think that is a damn fine season review of the 2025 campaign for the Dolphins. Let's keep it moving in the right direction, Sam, and let's talk about the 2026 gains and losses. And holy moly, there is a lot of players on this. I had great fun putting this all together, but yes, it was there is a lot of losses here for the Dolphins. Let's start off with the 2 retirees, Sam, and what great players they were. They had great careers. Kenny Bromwich and Mark Nichols, absolutely great. And that photo there you can see of Mark Nichols was when he crossed against the Raiders in his final NRL game to score a try. So that was absolute scenes. I remember that moment very clearly. And then we saw a few players I thought, in my opinion, that it was interesting to see let go, like Max Feeney. He didn't really get much of an opportunity. He had a few handful of games. Yes, he didn't really grasp the opportunity as per some players that we'll touch on later. But I thought he was always handy when he played first grade. Same with Harrison Graham. He was a handy one there that they could come in and play a utility or a hooker role there for the Dolphins. I think the emergence of Kurt Donahue there has sort of forced him down to Newcastle, but wish those players well. Peter Holler, look, he got like maybe one or two opportunities in season 25. I think the signing of Francis Molo coming up there throughout the season didn't do his chances of first grade much good at all. And I think me looking at this list, I think the biggest loss is the man in the middle. It's Josh Kerr. I thought he was outstanding and has been ever since he played in the NRL, and he's moving back down to the Dragons. A great gain for the Dragons, especially in the middle of the paddock with the loss of DeBellin, like we touched off to Parramatta in the Eels podcast last episode. So if you haven't watched that one, make sure you head off there. Sean O'Sullivan, look, he was a handy utility for the Dolphins. Sam was able to fill in the halves position, but again, I think the rise of Donahue has really hurt him there. All Blacks Tawa, he was great in 2025, very versatile, able to help out in the centers and in the second row. I think he'll be really good for the Broncos. I know a bit of a late bloomer, but he was great for the Dolphins. Junior Tupu, yes, while he didn't have the greatest debut game for the Sydney Roosters, a handy outside back that I'm sure will get an opportunity for the Tricolours throughout the 2026 campaign if there's any injuries there. James Walsh, I'm sure you'll speak on him a little bit, Sam, signing up with your mob up in North Queensland. Michael Wacker is also come to the Broncos as well as All Blacks. And then Mason Teague hasn't signed anything yet. He did go halfway through the season from the Dolphins down to the Knights, but now he's on a train and trial, or he's working in the train and trial squad for the Broncos for a contract there. So that's the losses. Sam, what's your thoughts on the 2026 losses for the Dolphins, mate?
Yeah, long list. Mark Nichols, I feel like, is the biggest loss for the Dolphins. I think I will remember him mostly for being a Dolphin, despite his good form at South Sydney. I also think that All Blacks Tawa is a bit of a loss. I think he, as you said, he was pretty handy coming off of the bench and even going out to the edges for a couple of moments there. And James Walsh is a bit of a Swiss Army knife that has got a lot of hype around him. I'm still looking at some game footage of him over this off season. Really excited. I think he will debut for North Queensland this year, by the way, but it's not a Cowboys podcast, so rein it in, Sam. But yeah, it's a long list. There are some there's a lot of key pieces there, and I think their biggest loss is the GOAT, Mark Nichols. I think he was really good for team morale. He just always ripped in every time he hit the paddock.
Yeah, gotta love the GOAT, Mark Nichols. He's a great character of the competition, and it won't be the same without him, but we do wish him all the best in that next chapter. And he, like you said, Sam, will be remembered. I know I won't forget that try he scored against the Raiders. Anyway, let's move to the gains. Some very exciting gains here for the Dolphins, Sam. Started off by Selwyn Cobbo from the Broncos, and look, he's looking in great shape. We did touch on it in the Broncos podcast. His teammate Herbie Farnworth said that he's in the best shape that he's seen Selwyn. So that's really good, and I hope that I wish Selwyn all the best at the Dolphins. It's only a rental, basically. He hasn't signed anywhere, but it's only a 1-year deal. So sort of playing for a contract is Selwyn Cobbo. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes, but I wish him all the best, and I hope he finds that, that joy of playing rugby league and keeps himself nice and healthy and has a really good season, because he's a hell of a footballer, Selwyn Cobbo. The big signing, he's the current Dolphins coach, Christian Wolf, has raided his former club, St. Helens, and brought over Morgan Knowles. I thought personally, no bias here, I thought Morgan Knowles was actually one of England's best in the Ashes campaign that we just saw at the back end of last season. So I think he's going to be a very handy signing. And we have, I actually did post it today on our socials, on the All Out socials, that he is looking like he is a lock for the starting lock jersey with the injury to Max Plath. So, and that's his preferred position. So that will be great for the Dolphins to have him in their arsenal. Brad Schneider, look, very handy utility. I think it's a like for like swap with, Sean O'Sullivan leaving the club, and then they get Brad Schneider. We saw what he could do, and he was handy in his starts for the Penrith Panthers as well. So that's a very handy signing to be able to get a quality utility into the club. Sebastian Sewer as well from Newcastle, and Brian Ponu have joined as well for the 2026 campaign. I think Sewer is on a 2-year deal from Newcastle, and Brian is on just a 1-year deal. So a couple of 1-year deals for the Dolphins, I think. Brian could be on a longer deal. All I know is that Selwyn Cobbo is definitely on a 1-year deal. But what are your thoughts on the 2026 gains, Sam, for the Dolphins?
Well, I thought the Dolphins' backline was already chock-a-block. So the signing of Selwyn Cobbo, it is a nice headache that Coach Christian Wolf has given himself. So it's a good signing, of course, but they were already chock-a-block. So it's always going to be fascinating Teamless Tuesday for the Dolphins. And just to point on Brian Poyniu, he captained the Cyril Connell Cup team in 2024 to the championship that year, and thus he was then named in the under-19s or Queensland under-19s emerging squad, and he is a part of the front row, Mr. Poyniu. So good some good stock there. Morgan Knowles, I agree with you, he was one of England's best throughout the series, and Brad Schneider is like for like, but it is fascinating. Selwyn Cobbo is a part of this Dolphins backline that I already thought was full.
I think when a quality player like Selwyn Cobbo is available, Sam, I think you try and make some movement, bro, to try and get him in, and that's exactly what the Dolphins have done. So look, a really good, a lot of losses, but in terms of quality, probably say a handful of quality losses from the Dolphins. But some good gains there to help with the losses. And look, at the end of the day, Sam, as well, I know that you're talking about the depth with the Dolphins back line, but I feel like with the amount of injuries that they've been suffering, if they continue to get horrible luck, it's really good for them to have a really deep back line for them to basically use. So all the best for those players in their future if they've retired or gone to another club, and best of luck to the Gaines who have come to the Dolphins. Sam, take it away, my friend. Let's go through the train and trial list for the Dolphins, and it is one hell of a list, the longest that we've come across thus far in our 4 podcasts. So take it away, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to put this out there, thank you to the Daily Telegraph and thank you to Zero Tackle, and also off the information from the Dolphins website. This is a culmination of everything. So this is train and trial list 2026, and the first name, the first cab off the rank is John Finian Ganofo. He is a hooker that has won Mal Meninga Cup back in 2023. He is a 2024 Australian schoolboy, like a few other names in this list, and he's also of New Zealand heritage as well. So that's one to keep an eye out for you Kiwis. He did give an interview on the Dolphins website as well. Seems like a really good fella, and is held in high regard as well. So that is a hooker that might appear inside the next 12 or 18 months. Zach Garton as well. I think we might see a hell of a lot from. He plays second row, and he was a part of the inaugural 2022 Dolphins Academy young group of players, like a couple of other names on this list. And he has stuck around with the Dolphins since then, 4 years in, and he's won himself a 2024 Australian schoolboy. And he's also played 2 under-19s State of Origin games back in 2024 and 2025. Charlie Dixon is another name that seems to be getting a lot of raps about. He's a two-time Cyril Connell Cup winner and a 2024 Queensland schoolboy. Lewis Simons, he represented Queensland in the under-19s and also captained the undefeated Dolphins team that played in that NRLQ series in 2025. So everybody here has been together for about 4 to 3 years now. It's not like this brand new train and trial list has come in and everyone's getting to know each other. What's exciting about it is that they already know, a lot of people already know each other, have played with each other for about 3 to 4 years now, which is an advantage in trying to have a smooth introduction into the Dolphins and over the next few years. So Lewis Simons was a part of that. He captained the under-20s NRLQ Dolphins team. Patrick Kailahi, he is from New Zealand, from Hamilton, and he also played in that NRLQ team as well. Noah Fein, if you read the name Fein, you'll maybe remember Nathan Fein. He is an assistant coach at the Dolphins in 2026, and his son Noah, who is playing halfback in the youth competitions. He is a part of the train and trial. We've got Sangstar Fagota, fullback with both Tongan and Samoan blood in him. Jack Finnegan was part of the Queensland under-19 squad. And Carter Ford, Carter Ford there, he is a prop, but how do I say this? What's interesting, what's fascinating, with all sensitivity, is that he is the son of Carl Webb. So if the Dolphins harness Mr. Carter Ford over the next couple of years, and if Mr. Carter Ford is anything like his old man, Carl Webb, Dolphins, goodness gracious me, you've got a runaway friggin' boulder. Killarney Lavender, part of the Queensland under-19 squad as well. And with all due respect to the other gentlemen on this list, it was... I'll just name off these names. So we've got James Flack, Jordan Liu, Elijah McKay, Adam McSherry, Nixon Pizzassi, Cody Starr, and Adequix Watts Luke. And Mr. Watts Luke is the son of Isaac Luke, who played for the Warriors and South Sydney Rabbitohs, one of the best hookers I've ever seen too, just quietly, Dor. So that is the train and trial list. It's extensive, and the takeaway for me is that half of this team, maybe 3/4 of this team, have already played with each other for the past 3 to 4 years now. So this is Generation Next, but not for the next couple of years. But it's exciting if they can break through.
Another very exciting list of train and trial players, Sam, that's, again, going to be really good. That, if you're looking at a lot of the photos, it looks like they've been, like you said, Sam, around the Dolphins, precinct and working together, teammates, etc. So really good. Look, yeah, if Carter Ford can be anything like his dad, that will be absolutely unbelievable. Same as with the Noah Feens and Watts Luke, if they can be anything like their fathers, it'd be absolutely outstanding. A quick shout out as well to Cody Starr, that I actually found out this afternoon follows the All Out page. So I'm very, very, very happy with that, Cody. I appreciate you, mate, and wish you all the best with your Dolphins endeavors.
For the Dolphins, man, so the main 3 names I'd suggest is Zach Gart and Charlie Dixon and John Finian Ganofo would be those 3 names that I don't know, would be an outside chance of making their debut in 2026.
Yeah, the first 3 photos there on the list, and like you said, Sam, the first 3 names on our list of the train and trial squad. But yeah, really good list. Let's move on, Sam.
Yes,
to
sir.
probably the big part of the video, and then that is the 2026 Dolphins draw, my friend. We are going to keep this just the same as we always do. I'll say my piece, and then you chime in when necessary, or when I tell you so. The luck of the draw. Let's have a look at the Dolphins draw here. So the Dolphins actually get the opportunity to start the season flying with back-to-back home games against bottom 4 teams in the Rabbitohs and Titans, as you can see there, and play 4 of their first 5 games in Brisbane before a very early bye. So that is huge for the Dolphins. Anything you want to say just in that start, Sam? Your thoughts on that, mate?
I think opposition-wise, I think it's just a tick above average. You and I have both said we expect more from South Sydney. The Gold Coast Titans is a Queensland derby, Sharks and Broncos. And then Manly, this might be revealing a bit too much, but that might be the easiest of the first five against Manly at home. But yeah, it's not that's not an easy start. But then again, it is leveled out with the fact that, they're predominantly in Queensland.
All right. So we'll do what we always do. We go to the teams that the Dolphins will be taking on twice in their 2026 campaign. They take on the Broncos and Cowboys. So they're two Queensland derbies, and the Titans for that matter. So all their Queensland friends, they will be taking on twice in 2026. They've got the Sea Eagles twice, which could be handy. Unless, we really see Jamal Fogarty really do a good job there for the Manly Sea Eagles. Rabbitohs as well. That's an interesting one. Like Sam said, we expect a better outfit from the Rabbitohs in 2026, another club that was ruined by injuries in 2025. The Sharks, they've got twice, which if they play like they were last season, that's going to be a top 8 side there. Same with the Roosters, probably a top 4 side there. So a strong one. And then they've got the Warriors. So look, it's not the best teams that they actually play twice. So that's could be a bit rough there for the Dolphins, but the teams they play once are the Raiders, the Bulldogs, the Eels, the Dragons, the Storm, the Knights, the Panthers, and the Tigers. The Tigers, pardon me. And now just before I get another, or I say a few more things, Sam, and then I'll get your thoughts again. So the buys are very spaced out, probably the most spaced out of all the 4 teams that we've covered thus far. They got a early buy in round 6. They've got one in round 13, and then they've got one in round 21. So there's a good gap in between the buys. They're not all clunked or spaced together. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess time will tell, but I think in regards to injuries and whatnot, I think it can be very handy for the Dolphins with the spaced out buys rather than them all in the one spot. Especially with players trying to come back from injuries. I think that could be beneficial. I guess the only negative is for the spaced out buys is you'd rather like the advantage of the crammed buys in that origin period is that you're getting an automatic 2 points in in games where they're going to be origin affected, where the players are rested or, coming back after playing big minutes in state of origin. I think that is the bonus. Last verdict before I get you some more thoughts from you, Sam, and the entirety of the draw. Look, the Dolphins, they've been rewarded for becoming one of the NRL's most entertaining teams. We touched on that before in our 2025 review, Sam, that they scored the most points and third most points, and I think they kicked the most goals. So obviously a very entertaining side that's scoring a lot of points under Christian Wolf. And they've been rewarded because of that expansive, exciting football with a lot of prime time games. They've got 12 prime time games next season, the Dolphins, in that prized Thursday, Friday, and Sunday time slots on free-to-air television. So if you're a Dolphins fan, you don't have KO or Fox pay TV, you're going to be absolutely enjoying a lot of games on free-to-air. So that's awesome for Dolphins fans. The only top 4 team that they play twice is obviously the Broncos from that list. And they dodge multiple games against other top 4 teams, the Raiders, Storm, and Bulldogs. Another thing is they have no 5-day turnarounds, which is that's the first team that we've touched on that has had no 5-day turnarounds. I think all the other ones have had one. Yeah, I've just gone back and had a look at the list there, and yes, they are the only team that we've covered thus far that doesn't have any 5-day turnarounds. And look, to be honest, to cut it straight before you say some things and we touch on the 2025, standings and who they're coming up against in the bottom four, the top four, etc. There's few excuses to make the finals with this draw, I believe, and they can't miss the finals, in my opinion, with this draw and the squad that they have. If they can keep healthy and the team that they've got, they're not missing a finals for a fourth straight year. The Dolphins in 2026, Sam.
Alrighty, so just a few other marquee comments to make here. So in round number 7 and 8, they've got, this is all in the space of about 8 days. They have a bye first of all, but then they hit the road to play Penrith in Darwin. Then 1 week later, for Anzac Day, they play the Warriors at Sky Stadium in Wellington. So that is a fortnight of travel. That's up the top end of Australia, all the way over across the ditch to play the Warriors down south. So that is that's a pretty big set for the Dolphins. Then their 2 games at KO Stadium in Redcliffe. One is against Manly. The other one is against the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks in July. That one bye in the middle of the season is good for them, obviously, but I'm just trying to think how many Queensland representatives they might have. So you've got Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow is the first cab off the rank. Cobbo, if his form is good, will be in calculations or thereabouts. Isaiah Katoa
for New South Wales, yeah,
absolutely.
Some injuries, yep.
So from the 6th of June down through until round number 20, they don't have a bye throughout that real thick middle portion of the season. So they might. There's going to be some interesting coaching selections for Coach Christian Wolf to make throughout that origin period. And as I always like to do, I always like to look at the run to the finals, which does begin in round number 20, and looking at the final opponents that they've got. So they're just sitting inside or outside of the top 8. What does their run to the finals look like? Well, they've got 3 home games, 1, 2, 3 home games for the rest of the season from round number 20. So portion of their home, or most of their home games is at the start of the 2026 campaign. They host Cowboys, then they've got a round 21 bye, and then you'd think they really flog it hard from round 22 onwards. If they need to make the 8, they need to beat the Dragons away. They host the Brisbane Broncos. They're away to Manly, home to Para, away to the Roosters, and away to the Gold Coast Titans. And if the Dolphins play with their attack to the same level as they did in 2025, I've got to say that in that run to the finals door, I could only see them dropping maybe 2 or 3 games. That is a pretty decent run into the finals, despite only 3 games from round 20 onwards. I think the level of opposition, if they play anywhere near like they did 2025, I think they can account for more than half of those opponents, Dor.
I think the whole draw is really good, Sam. But like you said, I think the start and the ends are very good for the Dolphins. A good start to the season with soft opposition on, again, 2025 form. We don't know exactly if that's going to be the exact same in 2026. And like you said, very soft opposition, not all, but, on 2025 form. Again, some poor or some average teams there to come up against on 25 form. So, look, overall, we'll just quickly go over the games that they play against the 2025 top 8 and bottom 9 teams. So in the top 8, they versed 12 top 8 teams from 2025's final standings. So 12 against the top 8, 5 against the top 4. They versed the bottom 9 12 times and the bottom 4 6 times. So just seeing that bottom 9 number, that's pretty similar to the Parramatta that we just touched on before, the same as the Broncos had 12 against the bottom 9, and so had the Storm. So there's a few teams that have got 12, 6 games against the bottom 4. That's the same as the Storm, as the Eels, should I say, pardon me. Similar to what's 5 against the bottom 4. No, so that's one better than the Storm. And then the Broncos, they're the exact same, 5, the bottom 4 for them. They've got 0 5-day turnarounds, like we just discussed before, Sam. They've got 10 6-day turnarounds, which of the 4 teams that we've discussed, that is the most 6-day turnarounds. And they've got 13 7-day turnarounds, or 7+ day turnarounds. So, which is, I think, just a couple of less from, I think the Eels had 15. I think the Broncos had 15 as well. And the Storm had 14, but they've obviously got a few more 6-day rests than the other teams there. So look, overall, it's a stunning bloody draw for Christian Wolf and his men. This is going to top of my grade listings for the 4 teams that we've covered. I've got them at an A, A minus. The Dolphins, they are at the top of my list for the draw, 2026 draws for the 4 teams that we've touched on, Sam.
Yeah, I would agree with the A minus score, maybe a B plus. But yeah, right. I think this is the nicest draw we've seen so far.
All right, great draw. Let's keep it moving. It was going so great.
Oh.
And now we've had to, unfortunately, head to the injury ward.
Yes.
And look, if you look at this zero tackle, obviously this is not exactly up to date as of yet for zero tackle, but all those men there last year suffered injuries. Look, Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow was in the last game of the season, saw him miss that Pacific Championships. All the other men there, look, we will touch on that, but I just wanted a bit of an overview of players there that were injured or suspended there at the back end of the 2025 campaign for the Dolphins. So obviously Max Plath, ACL, he's looking at returning in rounds 3 to 4. That's going to see Noel. I'd say it's probably going to be the later. It's obviously they're going to be cautious coming back from such a significant injury like an ACL. So I think it's going to be more round 4. So we're probably going to see Knowles start at lock for probably the first month of the season. I see Plath coming back in off the bench in my viewpoint. Marshall King, look, I don't know if this was the exact reason. If it was, I feel terribly sorry for him, but apparently he slipped over and did his meniscus at home, which is absolutely diabolical. And look, he's missed a lot of 2025 campaign through injury and the last few seasons. A really quality player, Marshall King. But he's unfortunately gone under the knife and he's not going to be back till round 6 for the Dolphins. So, yeah, a bit brutal there. And then, look, we saw Jack Bostock. He did that injury over in Perth in that game against that loss against Newcastle over there at HBF Park. And he's looking at returning in round 8. So he's going to miss the first couple of months of the season. 3 really quality players that they're going to suffer or struggle without in that first month, probably month and 2 months of the season there, Sam. But I think the depth, we've touched on those ins that the Dolphins have acquired for this 2026 campaign. And you look at Knowles there for Max Plath, a really good handy replacement. He's obviously going to be in the best 17 Knowles anyway, but a handy replacement there to do a job without Plath. Now, Marshall King, look, where there's no one that's come into the club outside of, Schneider, that it's a bit of a utility, but you just look at the emergence of Kurt Donahue last season, ended up with Fiji Pacific Championship action or Pacific Bowl action at the end of the season there for Kurt Donahue. Absolutely outstanding campaign. He was one of the Dolphins' best. He can play hooker, he can play lock, very versatile, can help out with Plath and Knowles there in that lock position. Outstanding a player, Kurt Donahue. And then the last one, Jack Bostock. Well, you touched on it before, Sam, Selwyn Cobbo, and a player that we'll touch on as well later is in Tavita Nafu, that was outstanding at the back end for the Dolphins of their 2025 campaign. So, look, big losses to start the season, but quality depth that the Dolphins have, Sam.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Yep. No more from Sam. He's keen for me to go straight into my round one team, and because I do the templates, I do know that Sam and I are very different. Probably the most different out of all the teams that we've gone through thus far with our Dolphins team list. So I'm going to start us off here with my team, and I've got the Hammer at fullback. Look, Trey Fuller is electric and outstanding, but I think that the Hammer deserves to be at fullback. Would I be surprised if he got moved to the centers? No. I wouldn't be surprised with a few changes, to be honest, with what my team is here if they were to go a different direction in round one. I've got Asako and Cobo on the wings. And we have heard out of Dolphin land, again, not confirmed, but like Morgan Knowles is looking like a lock for the lock position. I have heard that a Cobo and Farnworth center wing partnership is looking set to be utilized for the Dolphins. And honestly, look, Cobo, he can play center, he can play fullback, he can play on the wing. He's outstanding, good. I'd say he's solid in the air, but it's his carries back that can really be dangerous. And I think, look, Asako as well, just on him, he's been outstanding. He ever since he came back to the Dolphins, Wayne Bennett brought him to the not came back to the Dolphins, sorry, went to the Dolphins, came back to Wayne Bennett at the Dolphins. He's been outstanding. So he was outstanding with the boot. And try scoring last season, one of the leading point scorers. Actually, I think he was the leading point scorer
2 years in a row.
Yeah, so he's outstanding. The centers speak for themselves. Mr. Farnworth, as pictured, outstanding player. And look, Jake Averillo, I could see when I was making this, I could see a player that I'll touch on later, like Tavita Nafu potentially coming in on the wing and Cobo moving to the centers at some point. But for now, I think that Averillo, while yes, there's rumors that he won't be at the Dolphins after this season, I think that he deserves a crack there at first crack at the centers. But look, could be some movement there throughout the year, but this is my round one team. Cody Nikorima and Katoa in the halves. Look, to me, that's just a give me. They were outstanding last year and have been for the last few seasons. Nikorima and Katoa. Look, Katoa's borderline closing in on Blues jersey there. If Moses or Cleary get injured, I don't think Luai's form's been that great. He has been, I'd say, solid for the Tigers, but I think Katoa was outstanding, did get into the Blues camp as well for that game 3. So look, I think, yeah, great halves pairing, picks themselves. I've got Kurt Donahue at lock. Look, without Marshall King there and the depth that they've now got with Knowles coming in as at lock, I thought that Kurt Donahue will be a great man to put into the hooker position. In my opinion, we've got Daniel Saifiti and Tom Flegler. Wowee, what a 1-2 punch that I've got there. Look, you could say with the amount of football that Flegler's missed, he could be on the bench, but just give the kid a crack. He's been out for so long. I want him straight in off the back fence, off the kickoff straight away. Big Tom Flegler. I'm so excited and really, really chuffed to see that, yes, he will play again and that he is on track to be playing in round one. So really excited. Tom Gilbert, he's come out and said that he will be playing round one, Sam, or not round one of the trials against the Titans. So that's huge coming back from injury for him. And I've gone with Kulikefu Fukiaki in the back row with him. I just think that if you look at the 2025 team list that Wolf was putting out, as well as the form, I thought that Lemuelu was utilized off the bench, and boy, oh boy, he did an absolutely outstanding job off the bench. So I'm going with and continuing that trend with Lemuelu off the bench and Fine Fukiaki starting. And I've already touched on it multiple times. Morgan Knowles at lock. It's a lock. I've got Trey Fuller at the utility spot. I think that's a really good one. Look, as well with the Averillo, look, the Dolphins can execute at the back end of games, potentially bringing Trey Fuller on into the fullback position, moving Hammer to the centers and giving Averillo a bit of an early rest. They've got so much versatility in that lineup that other players could move around in the back line to get Fuller to go to the back. Hammer could go to the wing or something. You could move Averillo into the halves, move Hammer into the centers, and then put Fuller at fullback. I just think Fuller's too good to not be playing NRL, so that's why I've got him there over the likes of the 18th man, Brad Schneider. And look, yes, you could say Kaufusi could start, but Kaufusi, as we saw very much in the 2025 campaign, brings a bit of mongrel about him. And I think he can utilize that nicely coming off the bench, a short stint, and can get into his work there, Finn Diesel. So I think I've got him there on the bench with Francis Molo. What an absolutely great signing Francis Molo was to get from the Dragons up to Dolphins. He was outstanding for the Finns last year and a real impact player coming off the bench for the Dolphins. Really love Frankie Molo. And Lemuelu, like I said, is the other man on my bench. Brad Schneider is the 18th man. Oren Keeley, look, I think he could feature as well. If there's an injury in the back row, or either to Fine Fukiaki or Lemuelu, who both missed time in 2025, Keeley will be straight in. Yes, he's off to the Storm, pardon me, in 2027. But I think that, obviously if there's injuries, he'll be there. Same with Tavita Nafu. There's an injury to that back line. He, in my opinion, is the first cab off the rank. Look, a great 1 to 20 squad, a really strong 1 to 20 team. And look, if they can keep that team on the park, look, the world is the oyster for the Dolphins in 2025. Sam, a bit different to mine, my friend. Hit us with your 2026 round 1 team, my friend.
Well, first of all, I was looking at Francis Molo's name and I was like, oh no, I don't think I did I? So Francis Molo will be parachuted in. But anyway, this is what I went with. Yes, I'm a dickhead. I forgot about Molo. He's a very good player, and I definitely would have him in my 1 to 17. But still, let's talk about the major change here. So Trey Fuller, this is the round 1 team, right? And we just went through who is injured at the moment. Jeremy Marshall-King, his injury has dictated the way that I would name round 1 for 2026. And I say, let's see it again. We saw it in the final round of last year. Let's see both Trey Fuller and Hammer on the paddock at exactly the same time. Have Hammer at center, Trey Fuller at fullback. And then the other ways that I've gone about it is Azarko, Farnworth, and Cobbo, which is not dissimilar to you. And then, so because of the forced change of JMK, I would then shift Jake Averillo to play at 5'8", and then obviously Katoa playing in at a halfback. So Daniel Saifidi, Cody Nikarima, and Felice Kaufusi would be in my front row. Nikarima, obviously, he's a Swiss Army knife himself. Gilbert, Lemuelu, and Morgan Knowles I'd go with. I really agree with the point, though, that when Lemuelu came on, he was creating havoc throughout 2025. And then 14, Kurt Donohoe, Ray Stone, and then Kulikafu, Finafuiaki, and Tom Flegler. I love the passion that you have for Tom Flegler, but I think that come round 1, especially if he doesn't play any preseason games, Tom Flegler, I think he will be starting off the bench naturally. So, yeah, other than Francis Molo there that I buggered up on, he's definitely in there, and it would be a battle between him and Ray Stone, unfortunately. But Ray Stone just brings so much heart to this Dolphins side. And we've already spoken about it. The depth at the Dolphins is so, it's mouth-watering stuff. It's mouth-watering. So my 18th player is exactly, my 18 to 20 is exactly as you, Schneider, Nafahu, and Oren Keeley. But what do you think? Just round 1. I know you just named your round 1 team list, so you disagree that maybe you do bring Fuller off of the bench. I, for me, just think that with JMK to come back in, yes, you're naturally going to put Nikarima back at 5'8". You're naturally going to put Averillo back to center and whatnot. But there's 2 things with it. So I do think Fuller and Hammer on the paddock at the same time needs to happen. But also Avarillo's defense was really put under the microscope in 2025. I mean, he will be partnering Zarko, and apparently Farnworth and Cobbo are going to be something. So Jake Avarillo's got a massive year ahead of him. And I thought at times Jake Avarillo did really well at 5'8" throughout 2025. But yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches for Coach Christian Wolf, and he's got a happy headache every single day in 2026. You can do anything with this side. It will change every single Tuesday, just for fun for Christian Wolf, man, because such is the depth, Door.
Yeah, like you said, Sam, it's just my team that I'm going with for round one. But like you said, yeah, there's nothing like I'm not against Trey Fuller being at fullback and the Hammer at center at all, or Avarillo at 5'8". I just think that's the way they're going to go about it. I just think, look, Nikorima, yeah, he can play hooker, but I just think that they go with someone like Donahue, just works his backside off in the middle of the field, very strong defensively, way stronger than Cody Nikorima defensively. And look, I'm not trying to be harsh against Cody Nikorima. He's a great offensive player, but I don't think the Dolphins would do him the disservice of putting him in the middle of the park defensively. I think he'd be targeted by opposition every week if he was put in the middle of the field defensively. I think if you put someone like a Kurt Donahue in there, rock solid in defense. Look, yes, Nikorima as an attack, like in attack as a hooker, outstanding, really quick off the mark, really good. But yeah, just for me, I think I'd rather defensively, I think Nikorima would be found out at hooker. So I think I'd definitely stick with Donahue there. Look, I love Ray Stone as well and the passion and whatnot, but I just couldn't find us, like as we just discussed the depth, I just couldn't find a spot for him over some other players. Yes, he's definitely going to feature in the 2026 campaign, but I just couldn't find a spot for him, unfortunately, in my round one team. All right, let's continue moving in the right direction here, Sam, and let's move on to my breakout player. And wowee, look, he looks as good as his 2025 campaign. Tavita Nafu, wowee, he just really came from the clouds. He was outstanding. Look, yes, he's come from the Dolphins. He's only played 7 games, sort of benefited from the injuries in the back line to the Dolphins, especially the one to Jack Bostock. But look, nearly a try a game, Sam, in 2025, and he definitely passed the eye test for me. Yes, you and I both don't have him in a starting position or in the top 17 for round one. But like I said, he's only one injury away or one Avarillo bad performance away, in my opinion, or maybe multiple, but a couple bad Avarillo performances. But
Yep.
like you said, defensively, Avarillo did get found out in 2025 in that center position. And we know Cobbo can play center. He did it very well for the Broncos. So I think that, yeah, Nafu could easily come in there, or if there's an injury, again, touched on it, great depth at the Dolphins, but I think this is the leading candidate for a backline position outside of obviously Trey Fuller in that fullback jersey. 6 tries, basically a try a game, Sam. Hadn't tries, 12 line breaks. 12 line breaks. That is a lot of line breaks. And I think it also speaks volumes. And speaks volumes of the Dolphins team and the way that they like to go about their business. They really dominate sides on the fringes. And Tavita Nafu was outstanding, whether it be finishing off a nice set piece or, a kick out to him. He was outstanding. Look, you look at all these other stats or look at that. That is absolutely the key, the crux of this argument. 167 run meters a game. He ran for 7 games, 167 run meters per game on average. That is absolutely at the top of the peak of wingers that we're talking about here. 167 run meters a game. Like, that's Brian To'o like numbers on the wing. Yes, only 7 games. Haven't really seen it over a whole season. But look, I wouldn't be surprised if he got named in round 1 and say Averillo didn't. But just from the mail I've been getting, I think he's more of a winger, Nafu, not a center. So I think that he's going to miss out on round 1. But he is an outstanding player. And I think, yes, we saw a bit of him. But I really think I don't think Averillo is going to be at the Dolphins. I hate to say it if you're an Averillo fan after this season. I think if they're looking towards the future, I think that there's a real chance that this Nafu bloke plays way more than 7 games in this 2026 campaign. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm touching wood as I say it. But yeah, if the Dolphins have the same sort of horrid luck with injuries, yes, they've got a lot of depth, and this man will be the first cab off the rank for the Dolphins in the back line behind Trey Fuller, Sam. But let's move on to your breakout player. And look, he started to move in that way, but I think what you're saying here is he's going to go to that next level. He's been touted as close to an Origin player. He's been close to going into those squads. If not, I think he did actually go into one of the squads in 2025. It is Kuli Kefu, Fine Fukiaki, Sam, and we've got his stats here, mate. Take it away.
Yes, mate. Look, you can speak for the stats. I don't have them up here, but this is more of an eye test. And he was a North Queensland Cowboy a couple of years ago, and I was really excited about his prospects and his trajectory. The way that he was running lines, the way that he was engaging the line was something that was very different up at North Queensland. He runs with a lot of vigor. Unfortunately, he got done in by injuries throughout 2025, and you could probably suggest that maybe it was like a second-year syndrome sort of a thing for Finafuiaki, but I'm really excited about him. I was gutted to let him go, and I think he will remind everybody how explosive he can be. I think he could knock the barn door down of any club in the NRL. If he's on fire, he's really hard to contain, and I think he will be a fan favourite for a very long time if he does reach the levels that he was hitting at with the Cowboys. Last year, he did hit it a couple of times, but I think Finafuiaki is a pretty special, underrated talent, in my opinion.
Does he make Origin?
Look, I mean, Kurt Capewell was the last person to be parachuted in. Finafuiaki, though, because he plays for Tonga, I think that still enables him to be a part of the Queensland squad. So, yeah, I think if he has good form, he will be part of the squad for sure. But as to whether or not he plays, I mean, Kurt Capewell reminded everyone just how freaking important he can be in the Origin arena last year. So yeah, he could be a part of the squad. I don't know if he can play or not. Just depends on how good he grabs 2026 by the horns of the bull.
Yeah, like just on the stats, Sam, it's, he did miss some time with injury, but he did get through 20 games. So that's very handy. He scored a try. I think the key stat here, though, is you're looking at really good tackle efficiency throughout the season, as well as the increase in run meters over his career thus far. And I think that's going to increase again this season for Fine Fukiaki. I think he'll be up to probably I reckon around the 120s. I'm gonna say. I think this year, hopefully he can keep himself nice and fit and on the paddock. And yeah, I think he's another great player that I think is definitely going to be around Queensland circles in coming years, as well as a fine second rower up there with maybe a top 10. Second rower, maybe top 15 second rower by the end of this season. Sam, I don't hate this at all. Look at him there. He's looking absolutely real fit, ready for 2026. So we wish Kuli Kefu all the best, as well as Tavita Nafu, and hope they both have glorious 2026 campaigns to make Sam and I look really good. So let's move to the kit. I know you've got some thoughts on this kit, and I hope you are truthful to your thoughts on this kit. We are an open book here. I will be honest. That home jersey, the sponsor integration is absolutely horrendous. It is awful. That white blob or white background behind the Budget Direct. I'm not saying Budget Direct's awful. I just think the integration of it is not great on the jersey. And look, I'm not really the biggest fan of that home jersey at all, to be honest. The stripes and like the different colors of red, to me, it just, I'd rather prefer it to be that arrow red over the whole jersey and maybe something different. Maybe like some, I don't know, some like textures of some waves or something like that throughout the jersey in a lightish, like a whitish color or something like that. I don't know, some sort of design or some artwork. But look, it's a jersey. It's obviously going to do the job, but just in my opinion, that home jersey is not it. That away jersey, however, much better. I much prefer the away jersey. Again, why didn't Budget Direct just use the same white color, or just get rid of the white background and just let the lines run through with the text over the top? Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves, and I think it's also a pet peeve of a lot of jersey lovers that just don't like how some sponsors, integrate their logo in the jersey. So look, yeah, to be honest, out of the 4 teams that we've done on a whole, it's the worst jerseys that we've touched on, in my opinion. Sam, what do you think?
Agree with it. I agree with everything that you say. It looks like someone got a Budget Direct sticker, peeled it off, and just went whack on the front of that home jersey. Man, that's Gold Coast Titans level of sponsor integration, just quietly, mate. If you pretend that the Budget Direct logo with the white box around it is not there on the home kit, I like what they're trying to do. I don't mind it, but Budget Direct, the sponsor, the white background absolutely buggers it. So I agree with you that the away kit, because of the white jersey predominantly, and then the Budget Direct logo as well, it is integrated better. But yeah, that home jersey is the worst jersey that we've seen so far, and the away jersey, I guess, would probably be the worst for me as well. I think they're the worst. It's the worst combo that we have covered so far in the 4 episodes.
Come on, Budget Direct, Budget Love, Budget Direct. They're supposed to be buddy, living to that, and buddy, they're, it's just not great. But anyway, we wish the Dolphins and Budget Direct a very successful sponsorship tenure as their main sponsor, but we would prefer if you could fix the integration of your logo into the jerseys. Now, to the last segment, Sam. Our 2026 Dolphins predictions. And I'm just going to say, I don't need to say much here. We've just touched on the Dolphins as a whole, their squad. You can see it here in full. There might be some players here that might not be coming till 2027, but still a very strong list of players with great depth and some really key names coming back from injury. Look, they could push top 4 if they keep their team on the park. I would go as far as that. I know Sam's going to give you an exact position. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say they're going to be in the top 8, in the 5th to 8 range. I think they're more the 5 to 6, though, in my opinion. I think that there are some other teams that are obviously that are in my top 8, but I believe that this team, the stability, the additions that they've had, and the quality and the depth is better than some of the other teams that, finished well in 2025 that I probably going to have in my top 8, but I think are going to slide a bit. I think, the Dolphins really like what they're doing, Sam. I've got them in my top 8. What about yourself, my friend?
With the depth that we've touched on, the run to the finals, their draw overall, you said before that there's no excuses. I mean, if it's anything like last year or even the year before off the top of the dome with in regards to their injuries, they really don't have any more excuses now. They have been ninth or 10th 2 years in a row now. That it's almost come down to the final round of the season for the past 2 years now. And I think this year is the year that they do crack it. I think this is going to be the hardest top 8 to make of all time. And I said that 12 months ago as well. But this is going to be so hard to crack. So it's hard. It's hard to see where they do finish. But I did say to you, though, that I think that if they get in, it will be 8th position. So they'd be in for an away elimination final. I do worry about some other combinations. So if they've got Cobo and Farnworth, sure, they play with each other at Brisbane, but it is a new combination that they need to sort out. It's a good team. It's a really good team, and I agree with you that they could crack the top 4 as well. But the reason why I'm keeping them in that 5th to 8th range is because we need to see evidence of them improving defensively. They scored over 700 points attacking wise, but they leaked about 590, and that was one of the worst around the 1 to 10 bracket thereabouts. So need to see them improve defensively, and pretty much touch wood, just remain injury free, man. Really. So yeah, I don't think they'll take a step backwards offensively, attacking wise. I think they'll be as deadly and as entertaining as ever. But yeah, just got to see them in action, man. They're a really exciting prospect for 2026 because yes, they could make the top 4, but at the moment, I do think they will make a finals debut, but I'll stick them in at 8th position.
So you're going for little steps, one step at a time for the Dolphins. 2024, like you said, right there on the screen. Dolphins finishing in 10th. 2025, they finish in 9th, and Mr. Revel has them finishing in 8th in 2026. So that will do us for the Dolphins. I think that was a really good episode, and for a really good team that we both think is going to do very well in the 2026 season this year. Look, again, last thing I want to say is wish the Dolphins all the best. And also, if you haven't done so already, it's the same thing every week, or every episode, should I say. If you don't follow Sam and I or the All Out NRL Fantasy or Wobble and Jaw Sports on any social media platforms, please go and do so. And also on YouTube as well. We've also got Spotify as well, the All Out, so feel free to utilize that. All our episodes are there on YouTube and Spotify that we've done this is now the 4th one. This one will be going live very shortly. So hope you guys all enjoy. Thank you very much for the support, the comments, and everything like that that we've had thus far on the 3 teams that we've had covered before this one. Sam and I really do appreciate it. And look, if you're really keen for your football and, you've got some friends out there that, are really excited as well, and, feel free, or we would very much appreciate you passing it on for other people to come and view the podcast, and let us know again in the comments if there's anything that they discover or you discover that you want us to add on. We've added in the injury ward there so we can touch on some players that are either suspended or injured that aren't going to be in the round 1 teams that we put forward. So again, just let us know how we can improve the product, because at the end of the day, this is not only just for you guys, but not only just for us as Rugby League Tragics, but for you guys especially as well, to give you guys something to look forward to every couple of days in this push. Under 50 days now till the NRL season starts in Vegas. So not long now. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining me. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you in round 5 again. It's a secret. So stay tuned for number 5, team number 5, and see if it will be your team. But Otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Catch up.